Finish off. Here's an interesting way that you can actually help with serious scientific research and also keep yourself busy during these interesting times. This is a website called Zooniverse, and here's a little video that introduces you to it. If you remember when we were talking about the distance ladder and Henrietta Leavitt's discovery of Cepheid variables. Remember, she was one of the Harvard computers. She was a woman that had expertise in astronomy and was hired to analyze photographic plates because Edward Pickering, the head of the Harvard College Observatory, recognized that there was far more data available than there were male astronomers to analyze it. And so they made use of computers. Well, a similar situation has arisen in recent times. Today, with all sorts of scientific observational projects being computerized, we collect far more data than we have, not the people to analyze it, but then scientific institutions actually have the computer power to analyze. And thus began what are called citizen science projects. Some brilliant person, and I don't know where it began, realized that what was needed by the scientists was more computer power. What was sitting in every home were computers that were unused for most of the time. And so somebody got the idea, why don't we ask people to borrow their computers, at least to borrow them at a distance. And so this actually began with a project called SETI at Home. SETI is the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And what scientists did was they collected the data and then set up a screensaver program that they asked people in their homes to download onto their home computers. And then they would download packets of data and the screensaver program would run the analysis of that data while home computers were not being used. This proved to be so successful that other scientific projects began to take up the same idea. And so there are now many projects available. You can find a bunch of them at something called Zooniverse.org. If you go to Zooniverse.org, people-powered research, you will see that there are all sorts of projects available for you to work on. And this is, in some cases, it's very passive. You're just letting the computer run data when you're not using it. For others, you actually do some of the work. And if you help make a discovery, you get credit for it. So if you click on projects, there are projects in all sorts of fields, not just astronomy. So here, for example, are the biology projects that you can look at. And there are some involved birds, wildlife. They tell you what you're doing. Seal Watch, help us monitor populations of seals across the world by tagging time-lapse and drone photographs. This one I find particularly interesting. Eye for Diabetes, help us improve the eye health of people with diabetes. And what you do for this project is you can actually do a tutorial that helps you to analyze actual images of damage to the retinas of people with diabetes. But let's take a look at the astronomy projects here. So here we are, a whole bunch of them, some involving variable stars, some involving Mars, some involving the search for supernovae, some with a historical approach to it, and so on. Two that are dealing with exoplanets. This K2 mission, that's analyzing data from Kepler, and apparently this one is now quite booked up. They have enough people working on it, so they're not sending out more data. But we can take a look at the Planet Hunters. This is a newer one. This comes from the test project that we mentioned in the last lesson. And so here, what they ask you to do is to look at light curves and to help analyze them. And they will give you the training that you need in order to do this. They give you support online, and you can send back all the data and help contribute to actual science in your spare time. You do as much or as little of it at a time as you feel necessary for, and this I think would be a great thing to get involved with. It would look good on a resume that you're actually doing real scientific research while you're in high school. And of course, now during the lockdown, we have time to do that. So I would encourage you, zooniverse.org, to take a look at that and get involved and help in the search for planets or anything else that you find interesting. All right, as I mentioned, if you participate in one of these projects and the data that you initially analyzed turns out to actually make a discovery, you do get credit for it. You get your name put on as one of the authors of any scientific papers that result from that. And here's an example from 2017, exoplanet discovered by an amateur astronomer shows the power of citizen science. So I would urge you to at least take a look at what sorts of projects are available, if not in space science, then in any other areas that you might be interested in, and spend some of your time, instead of watching mindless YouTube videos, you could actually do something that will help you to discover the universe and contribute to our understanding of the universe.